Welcome to Penobsquis, New Brunswick's dirty little secret.
These people in Penobsquis went 5 years without any normal water delivery. They had to get their water delivered in 18-wheelers. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get the word out to the good people of New Brunswick that this is 1/7 the size of New Brunswick. So we want them to know where these companies are going to come in and start drilling. And if their water does go, then what's the process? The people of New Brunswick expect the government to be behind them, to back them up in their process. So we want to know if they're going to start losing their water in this 1/7 area. It goes from Rishabaktu to St. Stephen, Mr. Speaker. That's a big area. It's 1/7 the size of New Brunswick. So what will this government do to protect the good people of New Brunswick and their well water? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Penobsquis is the poster child of what happens when things in industry go horribly wrong.
People in the Penobsquis area already know firsthand how their wells can be adversely affected by drilling. In their case, their wells went dry. In many cases in the United States, fracking poisoned wells. What guarantees has the province received from the exploration companies drilling in New Brunswick that similar problems won't happen here?
Premier, 4 years ago, you were the change people were looking for. Now it seems a lot of people are looking to change you. What's happened?
Mr. Speaker, the practice of fracking has been suspended in some U.S. jurisdictions, including New York, because officials don't feel there are enough safeguards in place. Does the New Brunswick government have any similar concerns about people losing their water source, one of the most valued assets we have right now, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, there's optimism about the energy potential in natural gas fields within the province, especially given recent attention by several exploration companies, the most recent being Southwest. But care must be taken to ensure the safety of our drinking water. Many problems have been reported because of exploration companies using a mining technique known as fracking or hydraulic fracturing, because the process has been known to result in dangerous chemicals ending up in the water table. What measures are being taken to ensure fracking doesn't negatively affect our water supplies in New Brunswick as it has in parts of the United States?
We've done the work. We've taken 2 years to build the most robust regulations.
The last time we had questions tied to exploration, the government admitted that there was only one inspector, one mining officer that was actually in place that could ensure compliance of the work that's being done by the companies. Will the minister today inform the House how many inspectors are in New Brunswick that will ensure that these companies are following the necessary rules and regulations? You can have all the rules and regulations in the world, but if companies aren't doing what they're supposed to do, it's not going to help anybody.
In a recent newspaper article, Minister Craig Leonard assures New Brunswickers that the gas wells are monitored each month. They're not monitored by a government department. They are not monitored by an independent company. The gas wells are monitored by Corridor. How reassuring. A fox in the hen house.
Doesn't matter how far down the wells are drilled. In the United States, people's wells have become contaminated.
That's right.
Premier David Alward is touting jobs, jobs, jobs. Well, according to Mr. Alward, there will be 30 jobs per gas well. There are 30 gas wells in Penobsquis. So 30 gas wells times 30 jobs, that's 900 jobs. That means that every man, woman, child, dog, and cat in Penobsquis should have a job in the gas industry.
If you're re-elected, how fast does fracking get your son and everybody else home? How many jobs? How fast?
Well, Steve, a good example is what's taking place today in Penobsquis, where we already have 30 wells producing, and those wells are allowing hundreds of people, nearly 500 people, to go to work.
It simply isn't true. Make no mistake. The government and industry will tell you what you want to hear.
You say you've worked hard at it, but you will recall promising job creation and economic growth 4 years ago. There were two areas where you pointed out New Brunswick was behind the rest of the country. But today, Premier Alward, 4 years later, New Brunswick is still behind the rest of the country. If you roll back to hands of time, you will remember that you got elected in part by criticizing your predecessor, Sean Graham's risky scheme for NB Power and by promising to listen to people. And I listened to our interview from 4 years ago in which you talked about the importance of listening. Some people say you're not listening when it comes to fracking. They say that's a risky scheme and you're not listening.
Mr. Speaker, we know in the United States there are very, very serious concerns, significant contamination taking place in people's drinking water, We know that in the United States it is not required for companies to provide the information. We also know that we're receiving calls, we're receiving emails with people raising concerns about the potential impacts on their drinking water.
You were unable to balance the budget in 4 years, something you said you would do. It's far from balanced. You're hundreds of millions in the hole. But when you say look around at what's happening, just this afternoon, Nova Scotia has said no to fracking. And the Energy Minister of Nova Scotia says it's too risky.
Years, Penobsquis has and is the victim of industrial and government apathy and indifference. The past and present government of New Brunswick has done very little to support and protect the people of New Brunswick. Their treatment of Penobsquis should send a clear message to all New Brunswickers of what you can expect should a fracking pollute your water.
Are you going to win?
It is time for the people of New Brunswick to wake up, stand up, and say no!